on to our next interesting panel discussion, which is about unconventional licensing. And for this, I would like to call on stage our moderator, Mr. Anil Prabhakar, consultant, watches and jewelry. Let us have a round of applause. Our panelists for the evening, Mr. Prasad Kapre, CEO and Director, Being Human Jewelry, Ms. Sonia Punjabi, Director, Skybird Inc., Maserati Time, Mr. Rajiv Pople, Director of Pople Group, and Mr. Shashi Kapoor, MD of Retail Management Private Limited. Let's have a huge, huge, huge round of applause for all our esteemed panelists for the evening. Thank you.
Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, good afternoon. After that heavy discussion and heavy lunch, my responsibility has increased. So we are all from the gems and jewelry and watches industry. So how many of you are from the watch and jewelry industry? Please raise your hands. Very few. So let me tell you at the outset that we are not going to give you a lot of statistics or anything like that. Our emphasis is on conversations and sharing of experiences. So to begin with, I would like to have a conversation with all of you. And I would like to say that I have been sitting here since morning and I have gained a lot of insights. The first insight is from Chef Harpal. पहले 5 मिनट में पता चलता है कि बाकी पिक्चर कैसी होगी, you know. And the second insight which I have gathered, because I was moving around, the smartest people in the audience don't sit in the front. They are all sincere people. Smartest people sit at the back. So before they run away, I have to go and talk to them. Hi guys, hello, how are you? So, can you tell me, are you a licensor, licensee? Can you please get up so that other people can see you? Okay, great. Welcome. What about you, ma'am? Oh, Shimaru. Okay. She had a fantastic presentation this morning. Okay. What about you, gentlemen here? License. Okay. Now, I would also like to ask the audience, what is your expectation from the session so that the panelists know what is their duty? Anybody would like to volunteer, please? What do you expect? Or you want surprises? No?
I would expect to, kind of understand what this segment is all about. And then I would actually, in my mind, apply how I can take headers to all of them.
Great. So now it is my time to express gratitude, because the first half of the day was indeed very inspiring. And it was all about India's story. Her presentation was very nice. In fact, Chhota Bheem. I had a feeling in my mind that in the licensor-licensee relationship, the licensor also has an upper hand. But from the Chhota Bheem story, I could realize that even big companies like Hindustan Unilever are also licensees, and they are much bigger than Chhota Bheem. So that is one of the insights. And thank you, Ritika and Rutika and her team. You have done a very good job. And on behalf of my panelists, I thank all of you for having us here. Now, fortunately for me, and unfortunately for the panelists, I know them very well. Okay? And why I am saying that unfortunately for them, you will soon find out. See, I also am a part of the panel, and we have an equal representation. There are 2 Sindhis on the panel, and there are 2 Maharashtrians. So the Sindhis are known for their business acumen, but the Maharashtrians are not known for the business acumen. Prasad is a Maharashtrian, but he is an exception. Okay. Now, rather than introducing the boring reading out the biodata, I'll give you how his business acumen has grown over the years. You know the Jewish community? They are very tight-fisted. He made the Jewish people spend millions of dollars in India. And the story is still continuing. It was his stint at DBS. He's a brand builder. He has built brands such as, Asmi, Nakshatra, and a host of other brands. He's still building brands. And so I would like to ask him when his turn comes that why he was having an upper hand. Suddenly he has become a licensee. Of course, that is his part of story, and which he will share with us. Now coming to Rajiv. what I like about Indians is the jugaad mentality, fantastic jugaad. How both of them are jugaadus, how I'll tell you that, for example, Prasad, जो आदमी, जो शख्स कपड़ा पहनना पसंद नहीं करता, उसको ज्वेलरी पहना है उसने, भाई, so ये जुगाड़ नहीं तो और क्या है? Coming to Rajiv, Rajiv is a very polished, unlike me, he's a very polished gentleman, and he's a good businessman. And though he maintains a low profile, he has presence in India as well as the UAE, and he brings to the table a lot of value because he has been a licensee. He's been retailing international brands in India as well as abroad. One part of his personality is the innovative approach. I'll share with you. I'm sure all of you must be reading Economic Times. There comes up Iti Panache supplement. So you'll find the print campaign, and you'll find a beautiful lady on the photo. That's his wife. So he doesn't have to say, I love you to her every time the picture comes. So, and their bond keeps on growing over the years. But being a savvy businessman, he saves a lot of money. If he has to sign a brand ambassador, he has to pay her. So he need not pay because it's his wife. And now I will not pull anybody else's leg because the lady, you have to leave the lady alone because these are difficult times for men. And on top of that, she's my younger sister. So without further ado, I will request her to talk to you about what she does. Let me but tell you that she brings to the table a distributor's perspective. She distributes a lot of watches, international watches in the Indian market, one of them being Maserati and Swiss Military. So over to you.
Okay, thanks
Sonia.
for inviting me to this forum and giving me a pleasure to introduce my company and the things that we are doing. So majorly we are a watch house. We distribute five international brands, 4 being watch brands, that is Maserati Time, then Swiss Military by Chrono, Jacques Limo, it's an Austrian brand, followed by Jovisa, Swiss-made women watches, and AMS, that's a German wall clock brand. So this was started by, we have been in the watch trade, or the founder of the company, my dad, has been in the watch trade since 3 decades. And when I joined the business, I wanted to scale up, do something new. So when he started like the brands like Titan and Casio, I have seen them grown. Like we were area distributors at that time. So when they were just starting, that time we also associated with them. And now when they had grown up, we wanted to scale up our business. So hence I thought, why not bring these international watch brands to India? And hence I decided, depending on the pedigree of the brand, where are they originating from, how is the brand doing internationally, then also the quality of the brand. All these brands that I'm distributing have very good quality, and with the price point, definitely the consumers that I am targeting is in the range of rupees 10,000 to rupees 35,000. That's the sweet spot. But because today most of the brands are like mass brands which are doing well. Everybody knows Titan, everybody knows Casio, everybody knows Fawcett, and they have worn it. So when a youth who has worn Casio or Fawcett in his school years, and when they move to corporate and they want to, have something new on their wrist or try a new brand, they can't jump to Longines or to Omega. Many of them would not. What fits in the middle? So that was my perspective of getting these licensed brands. 2 of them are licensed brands, like Maserati is a licensed brand, and Swiss Military, again a licensed brand by Swiss Confederation. And Jovisa and Jacques Limo, they are like non-licensed brands, but then they are like good brands known internationally. So yeah.
She also distributes a brand called Maserati, and Maserati is a luxury automobile brand. And they have also launched watches in India. So I would request that the AV be shown to all of us. Hello. First AV, Maserati. Rajiv to share his story with all of us.
Hi everybody. Thanks Anil for that Sindhi introduction of mine. But mind you, the Indian Jew is a Sindhi. You know, so that's an important part.
Give him a big hand for the presence of mind, you know, for the repartee.
No, the other part is he bought something from the Jews and sold to the Sindhis. That's the other part of it. You know, so that's that part of it. Now coming back to the licensing, we at Poplay are into product development, design, fabrication, and retailing. So that's where the entire subject of the licensing came to us. One of the brands that we licensed was Walt Disney. Very contrary to a category like ours. Jewelry, premium, couture, bridal, and we talk about Walt Disney. So it's very contrary categories we had to bring on the table, not only in India, but internationally also. So we were assigned by the Paris Walt Disney office for a product development program. The products were premium and couture, and this was aligned at Fashion Weeks internationally. What was important was the product segment being couture was priced at 1,000 US upwards. So that's a very, very premium category, whereas an animated brand is concerned. And we don't have an example of same anywhere in the world as a category, so to say. You know? So it was an entire evolution of design and development which was required. Though the design expertise was ours, we tied up with national manufacturers to finally fabricate pieces which are of a product repute internationally acclaimed and which can be retailed across any counter anywhere in the world probably, you know. So we actually tied up with international vendors which were based in Italy and way back in Far East to collaborate with them, create a design element under the Poplay brand, which is most important because that's what we banked for. And we finally created a line which was entire Walt Disney line across 42 properties of Walt Disney to the extent of going into a real life Cinderella shoe which was auctioned for charity in Dubai for over ₹1 crore. So that's the alignment of licensing that we went into as a product category, and that's the whole expertise that we work in. So we create as a design element, we fabricate and we retail. That's where we come from.
You want to share the DDLJ story now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
please show those creatives of DDLJ, please.
So YRF was another property that we took up for India and celebrating 1,000 weeks of Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge with YRF, and there's just a hint of a few images I could pull out in a short span because I was actually traveling till last night.
Sonia, can you move? Yeah, sure. You will need to explain what
so that's the product line we created celebrating 1,000 weeks of DDLJ. The product was designed in India and fabricated in Italy. That's the price point in UAE dirhams, 1199 then, which is close to around 25,000 Indian rupees today as a product, and it's available in 3 color variants of with diamonds. The technology which was important was in that other piece, it was required to be made in Italy because that technology for the heartbeat diamonds is not available in India. This is another one. It's a slide of a tent card actually. That's a pure gold bar in the shape of a heart, and nothing best in India symbolizes love is other than DDLJ, which is, you know, quite synced with an age group little less than mine, but that's how it was. And we created this piece as a design in India, but fabricated in Switzerland with the hologram effect. And that's the uniqueness of our intervention. So we create and we network across the globe with our vendors, and we get it to the table to the consumer in India and overseas wherever it's required. That's the whole idea of YRF coming to Poplay, and there's no competitive edge which is available otherwise like this, you know. It's just a brief.
Okay, now Prasad, it is now your turn, but rather than getting up every now and then, can we show your video first?
Yes, I think that will be much better.
Being human.
Hi, this is Salman Khan. Thank you so much for buying Being Human jewelry and supporting a good cause. We're trying to get in a lot of spaces, and we're going really slow and steady. We just wanted to be, we just want to be working with people who are like-minded, and they're passionate about what we do.
It's indeed a great honor to associate the company Style Quotient Jewelry Private Limited with a big foundation like the Being Human Foundation and of course Salman Khan. See, Being Human is actually consisting of various different humane values, which is love, care, share, help, hope, and joy.
Over to you, Prasad.
Well, Anil, just to answer, how did I make Bhai wear jewelry? तो इन भाई स्टाइल एक बार जब मैंने कमिटमेंट कर दी तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता. But anyway, jokes apart, actually it wasn't planned. It wasn't planned at all. It all happened. I was a consultant to one of the jewelers, and we were shooting with Salman for the ad campaign. And actually at that point in time, he was shooting for Bajrangi Bhaijaan. And that's when we asked him that if there is a any kind of an opportunity for in-film merchandising. And that's when we came up with the idea of the pendant for the character that he was playing in the film, which was the Bajrangi Bhakt. And that's how we designed the Gada. And actually that Bajrangi Bhaijaan pendant really did very good business. It's a huge success story in Bollywood as of today. And what was interesting was that that's when we realized the power of movies and power of Salman. And so it wasn't planned. After the success of the Bajrangi pendant, we actually approached Salman that why restrict ourselves only to a pendant? Why can't we have an entire range? And entire range of jewelry. And I mean, I'm sure even he hadn't thought of jewelry at all at that point in time. And but having seen the success of the pendant, he readily accepted it, and he says, okay, fine, show me the designs, what do you have it in mind, and let's go for it. And that's how actually we came into jewelry. So that's a little background on the jewelry front, how we got into Being Human Jewelry. But by then, of course, Manish had already, worked on Being Human clothing side. He had already established the brand. So to an extent, we could piggyback on that success. And actually, that's where, so for the last 2 years, we have been developing new brands and designs. You'll be surprised that actually Salman gets involved at every stage, right from designing, approval of designs. He and his sisters, both the sister Arpita and Alvira, get involved. Being a women's jewelry, obviously from a women's perspective, they have to get involved on the design side. So every design is approved. Once we make the designs, then the prototype is approved by them. Once the prototype is approved, then we get into the production, and then we'll get into distribution, then into the retailing. And now we have gone a step further by having our first franchise in Chandigarh, and soon we're going to have, we have already signed up another 7 franchisees, so soon we're going to be all over the country.
Okay, now you have shared the Being Human experience, but you are also associated with films like Dilwale, and which is Rais, which didn't do well. So what are your learnings from these examples?
That's a very good point, Anil, because I think I would love to share some of my failures, not just the success. And I think the biggest failure for me was Rais. I had big hopes. The first movie I did was Bajrangi, and having been so successful with the first film, I thought, I've got the formula, and I'm here to do every film. And lots of producers of the film actually by then had already approached me, because Bajrangi had become a success story, so everybody was trying to approach. So Red Chillies did approach me. Honestly, I had not gone to them, but nevertheless, they approached me that there is a movie called Rais, and there is a very strong, character that Shah Rukh is playing. And in the film, he actually wears a taweez, because he's playing a Muslim character, and so he's actually wearing a taweez, which is his original, which he normally wears. So I thought that was very interesting. So I got carried away with that yes, wow, we've got fantastic product to go. So it was an existing product, it was an existing design. We tweaked it a little so that it's adaptable, and also it's worn by everyone across the country. All Shah Rukh fans would like to do it. And so that's the way we designed it. But unfortunately, what I realized is that if it doesn't have a strong connect in the film, the product, it's just not noticed, it's not even seen. And there was hardly any reference, though of course, when the script was narrated to me, there was a very strong connect with the character. But finally, when the final edited version of the film, when we saw it, actually it didn't have much of a relevance in the film. And I think that was one of the big learnings for me. As far as Dilwale was concerned, this was again an afterthought. The film was already ready, so it wasn't part of the film. But nevertheless, again, Red Chilies, I thought we can do something interesting with them. And at that point in time, the film was ready, so obviously it couldn't be part of the film. But nevertheless, wherever Shah Rukh was promoting, or Kriti Sanon, or Kajol, and Varun Dhawan, they all four were promoting the film in various different on various different platforms and also in various different cities. And actually, I was being part of that, trying to promote my bracelet. It was a sort of a Pandora kind of a bracelet, and we had created a special bracelet along with the special, the attachments which were relevant to the film. So the D of Dilwale, because if you remember, Dilwale D was in a special character. So we created a pendant of that D, and then lovebirds, and a few of those. Which we thought would do really well, but actually, unfortunately, neither the film nor the bracelet did well. So net is that unless it's a strong character and there is a strong relevance of that product to that character in the film, it doesn't work. So there is a whole lot of science behind it. So it's not just because, okay, Are Shah Rukh kar raha hai ya Salman kar raha hai, chalo main bhi karta hu. It doesn't work. For sure, it doesn't work. That's one. The second is the price points is another big thing, because nobody wants to spend beyond in four figures. And to the extent, again, this was a learning which Salman gave me, because the pendant that I had actually done, which was in silver, and which was as original as in the film. I mean, exactly the same size, same way what's there in the film. But that I could retail only at 1,200. And Salman said, don't do that, make it maybe 999, but can't be beyond 1,000. Nobody will buy a pendant, And so I said, but I can't afford it. And so it has to be at 1,200. So then he says, what's the solution? And Salman being Salman, he says, acha plastic mein bana do. So obviously I was not going to do that. But nevertheless, then I made a smaller version of it, so that I could retail it. Then I retailed that at $799, and Salman was bang on, because 77% of my pendants were in that category of $799. And to the extent, I still remember Salman also promoted, when he was promoting his film, everywhere, whether it's Indian Idol or Kapil Sharma show or any other show, he actually kept wearing the smaller pendant, not the larger one. And to the extent, even on the day of the film preview, I was there and I was wearing the big one, the original one. And when he walked in, he was wearing the small one. And I asked him, I said, Salman, for your belt, it looks just too small for you. So why do you keep wearing this? Because I've noticed everywhere you have worn only the smaller one. And he looked at me, smiled, and he says that 1,200 rupees, I can't afford it. So the message was loud and clear that if my fans can't afford it, please don't get into it. So that's why price points also become very, very important. So that was a second big learning. Third is also in terms of the promotions, how it gets promoted, and the celebrity who's there endorsing it, how much interest the celebrity takes, that also becomes very, very critical. And again, I think Salman was obviously very, very keen on this, and he also helped us promote it in a big way. So that was the third point.
My take on the film merchandising and licensing, it's a very lazy way of marketing, because it's a very expensive medium to do so. And Prasad didn't tell you that despite having a strong connect in the film, Prem Ratan Dhan Payo was a flop. They must have spent so much of money, and it's all about jewelry and royalty. It didn't do well. From my personal experience, I'll tell you, in my earlier company where I was working, we tied up with Krish, and we developed a small collection of jewelry, and we did also product placement. There was a scene in the film where hoodlums, they circle around Priyanka Chopra and they snatch away her engagement ring. That ring had a blue color stone, and as bad luck would have it, And we get a very small window, maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks for promotion, because beyond that, it doesn't make sense. So product was placed in some of the stores, and initial response was very good. The filmmakers don't do anything, all the licensee has to do. So it so happened that the blue stone was out of supply. So we put the ring with a yellow stone, and nobody bought it. So it was a whole exercise wasted. And on top of that, the filmmaker became greedy. And he signed licensing deals from lubricants to Bonvita and Colgate and whatnot. So, I mean, they are very selfish people. They want to recover the money for the expensive film they have made. So don't get carried away by this Bollywood stuff. But having said that, the most successful in the jewelry space, film merchandising and licensing, Tanishq. Tanishq did it twice. First with Paheli. It was wonderful association, but the film didn't do well. But Jodha Akbar was a blockbuster. And even after the film was not in the theaters, people still came and bought Jodha Akbar jewelry. So, like I said, the topic of discussion...
2 points, Anil, here.
One second. So, the topic of discussion is unconventional licensing. It also means unconventional conventional conversation. So, at this juncture, we'll also talk to the audience, but Prasad has something to say. So, please, Prasad,
No,
go
one is, it's not really expensive. Let me be honest.
Okay.
It's not very expensive, purely because you are being endorsed by Shah Rukh or Salman or whichever film that you're doing, and you're not actually directly paying them. What you are investing is in the media, and in the media you are investing for your own brand. So actually, the association is, at that point in time, I was doing it under Silver Style, this Bajrangi Bhaijaan. So my association was Silver Style presents Bajrangi Bhaijaan, and then the pendant. So basically, I was getting Salman on a platter. Of course, I wasn't doing Being Human then. So I was getting Salman on a platter without paying him, because I was paying for the media campaign. So, but in the media campaign, I'm getting my own brand promoted. And from a consumer's perspective, Salman is endorsing Silver Style. Okay? So it's a very, I think, clever way of using the celebrity to the hilt. To the extent, of course, fortunately today, till date, of course, now I'm doing it being a human with him, but till date, Bajrangi Bhaijaan still sells. The pendant still sells. It's been over 2 years, and we still have been selling both on Amazon, and in fact, even in the US, Amazon.com, I'm still selling Bajrangi Bhaijaan pendant.
Okay. Having said that, I heard you, but let me ask the audience, how many people are aware of the Dilwale jewelry or the Rais jewelry? Can you raise hands, please? Okay, very few. See, what happens is, this association is very topical, and it's, it's shallow in the sense that it is more to garner publicity and using the, aura of the star. But if you take a very serious integration, like Tanishq does, they spend a lot of money, and it takes minimum 1 year to get the product online. So you are right partly, but when I said that it's an expensive way of associating, I meant that association like Tanishq. So that was my...
I think there's a little difference here also.
Okay.
What's important in our jewelry category is an identity, which is very difficult to achieve. Unlike watches or other accessories brands that we walk into, for example, even a Louis Vuitton bag, you pay for the product only because you can read the brand name. That's the first part of it. So goes in a watch. You see it as a Rolex brand, hence you pay. You see an Omega, hence you pay. In jewelry, that doesn't happen. As jewelers or fabricators or creators, we urge to look out for products that we can identify as a brand per se, and hence get the premium on the brand. So that's where we come in, and that's the reason of why we come into a licensing thing. And you can say piggy right, but at the same time try to garner an identity to the product. IP in India in jewelry is very, very poor, or any design in fact, it's very poor. That we are not mature enough to understand IP laws in India, and hence we don't garner on that. What's important in pieces that we do, for example, when it was Walt Disney, was to allow the property to be seen on the product in a subtle manner. So there were Mickey ears, which you can look at the piece, and you can go out to buy those Mickey ears with diamonds on it. Now, being Mickey ears, you can't obviously imitate the piece with the cheaper version. So that was the difference. So as a jeweler, I'm looking out for pieces which are identifiable as a brand, and then take a premium on it. So that's very important, which is missing in the jewelry brand per se across. Even when you say Tanishq, the pieces of Tanishq are replicated across jewelry stores because they don't have an identity. For all you know, Tanishq itself is buying from the same vendors that the other jewelers are buying from. So the entire brand identity for licensing is lost out there. It's just used as a marketing opportunity to that level of the market where it's put across. Nothing beyond that. So that's the difference in the licensing scenario here.
So I would just like to say two things. I have authentic figures from Tanishq, and they said they sold jewelry worth 300 crores from Tanishq stores within 6 weeks. So they recovered their expenses, their expenditure. And coming to your point about Walt Disney jewelry, if the association was so good, you would still have continued. Okay.
Oh, it's the association which is still available because I'm producing the products. No?
Okay.
The design,
but you're not retailing?
In India, no. Internationally, yes.
Okay. Fine. Okay, now since the topic is unconventional licensing, I'll share with you an example of unconventional licensing. All of you must have heard the brand Nakshatra Diamond Jewelry, I'm sure. Anybody who has not heard about Nakshatra? Everybody has heard. Now that brand was unique in many ways, It was, the design was very Indian ethnic, and they had the top brand ambassador at that time. But the fact remains that during the entire life cycle of that brand, the brand never achieved 100, even 1,000 crores turnover. When I say 1,000 crores is big for other categories, but for jewelry, it's minuscule. And what happened was, why this happened, according to me, of course, Prasad can correct me, Nakshatra was licensed to not 1, not 2, not 3, 13 licensees. 13 licensees making a product and selling at different prices to the same jewelry community created a chaos. The brand had to be sold off. It was purchased by fugitive jewelry don, who now currently resides in Antigua. He bought it up and he tried to sell it in turn, and he could not get a valuation. So my point is, choose your revenue model properly and choose your partners correctly. Because the brand had a great potential, though it didn't realize its potential, it had a great potential. And today we don't know what is going to happen to the brand. No, I will stop here.
And I'll just add, okay, because since I had created that brand under De Beers, I was the country head for De Beers, and we were working on this brand. First of all, it wasn't a licensing model.
It was similar to licensing.
Yeah, but that time this licensing didn't exist, and we never wanted to do it. The objectives were very different. So, I mean, you perhaps don't know the background to the whole thing. Our objective was build, operate, and transfer. Okay, right from day one. So build different brands for different consumer segments, which we did. So we had Nakshatra, Asmi, Arisia, Sangini, Forevermark. So all these plethora of brands that we did, we had done a consumer segmentation, and accordingly we created brand. And the idea was to keep creating more and keep transferring those brands. So that was one. Second, what you're talking about wasn't 13 manufacturers. It was actually 5, which we reduced it to 4. Okay, so that's the second point. And besides that, what they were doing was just manufacturing. It wasn't licensing. And all the manufacturers, all the 4 or 5 initially, actually had to get all their designs approved by us. So all those designs were unique in their own respect. Though, of course, the core of the design was the floral design. So you have the Nakshatra feel, which was the constellation, is what we had said. But so it was very well thought out. So it wasn't the fact that we just gave it away. We gave it away, which was again in a bid. You know, there was a proper bidding that was done. There was a sealed tenders from all the 5. The first right of refusal was given to those 5 manufacturers, and then eventually the one who got it is the one you referred to. So it was a very well planned, very well thought out, and it was to the T in terms of what we wanted to achieve in the market. The whole objective was to promote diamonds. It wasn't about the brand. You know, De Beers is a diamond mining company. They had 80% of world's market share. So whenever you promote diamonds, 80% of the chances are that it's the De Beers diamond which is going to get bought. And that was the objective. So whether they bought Nakshatra as a brand or whether they bought a similar design As long as the consumers ended up buying diamonds, that was our objective. So it didn't matter whether the brand sells or not. So that was the background to it.
I think if you have to debate on this point, I think we'll need another hour. So we'll leave it at that. Okay.
One more point I also want to add on unconventional licensing about our brand. So Maserati, it is everybody who doesn't know Maserati here in the audience. I think everybody knows about it. So Maserati, like they are known for their cars, but then unconventionally or something, you know, which we is not expected that they will be doing, they launch into watches. So that was like a kind of unconventional kind of a thing. And same was Swiss military. So many people are using Swiss military as thing, but then the license is just given to two brands to use Swiss military. So that is Biochrono, which like we are distributing, and there is another brand which can use Swiss military. So one has to be very sure of what license they are taking and who can use Swiss military in their brands. So unconventional licensing was Maserati getting into watches.
Okay, now, as I said, let's have some unconventional conversation. So I would invite members of the audience, one opinion and one question. Anybody would like to volunteer? Otherwise, we'll move to the next point. Please, sir.
Many thanks for a wonderful discussion, truly unconventional, and so many thanks for people like us who have not heard about these unconventional things. My question is on merchandise film merchandising, what you're talking about. Now, Rajiv used a wonderful word, piggyback. So each of them has an independent personality, and sometimes they piggyback on each other. My question here is it essential that success of one transfers to the other, success or failure, or it can really beat the other two also? Like success of one, is it essential it goes to the other one, or failure, whatever it is? Or it can happen that one thing is successful but the other one is not, like film is successful and the merchandise is not, or the other way around. Can it happen?
So I'll start from the piggyback part of it. My relation was on the communication level. 20 years of DDLJ is communication enough done. Now I need to sell it within the same 3-week span or 4-week span that I'm given and be out of the subject from that point of view. That's the level of piggyback I do. So I'm able to communicate my product faster because of the movie communication, which is already done and known to everybody. So that's where my piggyback stops, honestly. Success or failure of the product is another relation where Prasad explained on both sides of the ball game, which he is already experienced, you know. So that's the difference in the sharing of attributes from both the brand and the movie part of it.
My question is just that whether if the product is very good but the film fails, does it fail?
Yeah, that's what Prasad said.
Well, actually, in my case, both Rais and Dilwale, actually, as a movie also, it failed. So I can't really answer from that perspective. Whereas Bajrangi, the movie itself was very successful, and so was the product. The advantage to us has been that since the success of Bajrangi, that pendant, we have been approached with various such opportunity. Now I have tons of opportunity. Even today, any other film producer thinks of doing something, and if they're thinking from jewelry perspective, they think about me. So I do get approached, and I've been approached for, I think already 50, 60 films, of which so far I've done only 3. Right, and thankfully, like Shandar was one more, where I was doing jewelry with Tarun Tahiliani at that point in time, and because the kind of movie that it was, my actually jewelry did fit in very well, but ultimately for whatever commercial reason it didn't materialize, and we didn't do it, and in any case the film bombed, you know. So it's I think from my perspective, because I would see it more from the product perspective, irrespective whether the movie does well or not, but if the product relevance in the film is very strong with the character, I think it will be a big success. Yeah.
Now, taking this to a different level, you want to ask a question or is it an opinion? Please.
Any merchandise which you do, any jewelry thing you do, the shelf life, you're saying you have a window of maximum 4 to 5 weeks. Whereas
no, I don't mean any jewelry. I meant DDLJ particularly.
But why is that so? You have 20 years.
Yeah,
with
so
you.
we started around the 20th year celebration.
Agreed. So you can still continue, right? Like
No.
Sir mentioned, like being human that is still being sold after 2 years.
Precisely,
Even
but
today.
the graph is very
just,
different.
I'll tell you here, when you sign an agreement, okay, it's usually signed for a month from the date of release. Okay, then if it's a success and both are happy with each other, then you can renew it. So you have to go on renewing it. The next renewal can be for a year.
So it's not a perpetuity.
No, it's never a perpetual. In film merchandising is never perpetual
That
because
depends, yeah.
sorry.
That depends, because if it's Walt Disney, it's a perpetual subject. You know, the properties of Walt Disney, the 42 properties of Walt Disney is a perpetual subject. It's been on for 5 years and above, and I hope it will continue further. But the
It's
whole
not
idea
for a film, one single film.
No,
it's for the
across.
character.
Yeah,
That's right. So it's a different kind of a licensing model. So there are various different licensing models. In film merchandising, when you're doing, it's particular to that film. And in today's world, the film runs hardly for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you know, right? I mean, that's max. If it runs for 4 weeks, that's fantastic. So that's why generally the license is signed up for 4 weeks. Okay, and if it has to go beyond, see, it depends from producer to producer and the kind of deal that you're going to have. Right, with Rise, I had 4 months of initial agreement. Okay, because I remember it was to be released in January, and I signed it in December till 31st of March. So so it all depends how you do it, what kind of negotiations you have, and what kind of agreement you have. But it's always for a particular time frame. Usually, initially for the shorter period, because it depends whether the product will do well, whether the film will do well, and if everything does well, and if both parties are happy to renew it, so you can renew it. So with Bajrangi, we have that license, so we can, market it.
So what was the 1 second? Sorry, sir. What was your agreement with DDLJ? Was it for again 1 month, or it was just perpetual?
So it's normally a 3-month format. It's promoted prior to the event and post the event. That's the flow. So even if you count 45 days before and 45 days post, but what is important to understand is commercially the graph is very different. So the graph actually comes in for you as business for only 3 to 4 weeks. The rest is your aggregation that you've created, and then is the down. So the actual business period that you really make business on is a 30-day period. Nothing beyond that for a in-film or a movie kind of a DDLJ kind of a format that I see. A Walt Disney format is totally different.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Cool. Thank you.
So we would like to stick to the timelines, and we are going to wind up the discussion in another 5 minutes. But I would like to make a point that we have discussed too much about films. I would like to emphasize the point that licensing per se is a very tricky subject. Of course, it has got a lot of potential, but the relationship between the licensor and licensee is not very easy to maintain. Sometimes it is nebulous. Sometimes the licensor has an upper hand. Licensee doesn't have an upper hand. To give you an example, in the watch space, luxury, lifestyle, designer space, all of you must have heard about designers such as Calvin Klein, then Ralph Lauren, then Tommy Hilfiger. Now, everybody has a watch line, but it never becomes a market leader. The core of the designer is clothing, apparel, so it always does well. It is a Me Too product, okay? Secondly, what happens is if the licensor and the licensee of the same stature, then the relationship is even difficult. To give you an example, for Tiffany. Tiffany had a license their watch brand to Swatch Group. Now Swatch Group is bigger than Tiffany in terms of valuation, in terms of turnover. And they had a very nebulous, and there are a lot of frictions. As early as last month, Tiffany has severed its ties with Swatch Group, and they are going to develop their line independently. To give you an example of the Richemont Group, they have arrangement with Ralph Lauren, and they are marketing Ralph Lauren watches, but it has not reached to the level it is expected. And why I will support my statement very strongly by giving an example of Pierre Cardin. Everybody has heard the name of Pierre Cardin. He is a 96-year-old designer, still alive, and he is the pioneer in licensing. At one point of time, he sold 800 licenses, and today barely there are 300 licenses. And what happened? Why he killed his own brand was the fact, the greed. He sold licenses to any product category, even mixers, toasters, and all. Today he wants to sell the brand, but there are no takers. So with this statement, I would like to close, unless you have any questions or these people have any answers or any views. See, of
the
course,
advantages and disadvantages of a licensor and licensee agreement, the problems they had to face.
yeah, so there is
Any advice like they have for people who want to probably get involved in a license agreement?
so both of them are licensees, they will make their comment, but according to me, see, the relationship between licensor and licensee is, there is an expiry period, there is a contractual period. So a real partnership doesn't really exist in this, because the licensor said it is my brand and I'll tell you what to do. So these problems come up, but having said that, these two people are more than
I would
qualified.
also add on, like, though I'm not a licensee, but though I'm a distributor, so when you are taking a licensee brand, the contracts or the agreements that you're signing with them, the gestation period should be at least pretty long, because for when you're getting a new brand into a country or you're building a new brand, it takes time. It takes time to occupy the mind share of the consumer. And if you're building a licensor brand, you better let the licensor put in the money, or let the owner of the brand put in the money. If the money shouldn't be put by a distributor or a dealer, because if the brand is getting built of the license, and at any point the agreement can end, and at any point he can withdraw. So at the end, the investment, the beneficiary would be the licensor and not the distributor or the dealer. So the agreement period, as you were saying, it should, like, what the time should be, it should be decently long, maybe more than 5 years, or at least 5 years, I should say, because it will require that much of a time.
Any comment from your side?
Yeah, for me, especially on Being Human Jewelry, the biggest challenge is that Being Human is known for Salman, right? And the first challenge is everybody thinks that it's a men's jewelry, which it is not. 95% of our products are for women, and it is women's jewelry. So that's one. Second is the Salman fans and consumers at large, they still want to connect with Salman. So isme Salman wali kya baat hai? So what's so different, or how is it, And that's where we have tried to build it. I mean, if you notice in the AV that we played, the packaging box, actually that's my unique packaging box, done first time in the world. Nobody has ever done this. It's a personal message by Salman. So when you open the box, it says, "Hi, this is Salman Khan. Thank you very much for buying Being Human Jewelry and supporting a good cause." So since part proceeds go for charity, so that's why he wanted to thank. And so this is a unique thing never done in the world. So this is the first time in the world that you have so again, we are trying to connect with Salman. The third that we are trying to connect with Salman is also through his bracelet. Now on his birthday, 27th of December, we're going to launch his famous bracelet. For past 2 years, I didn't do it because I thought it's been done to death, so what's so new about it? But nevertheless, what we realized is that the consumers definitely want the original. Because the research which we did, and it came back and everybody said that, ये तो fake है. आप अगर Being Human कर रहे हैं तो आप क्यों नहीं हमें सलमान का bracelet दे सकते हैं? So honestly, I have been pushed into doing it, but having said that, I can see a huge traction for it. So I'm glad I'm doing it, but there is no twist to it, there's nothing different to it, but because they want Salman, part of Salman with them, so we are offering them that, which of course, it will be endorsed by Salman, and it will be, very clearly in his promotion, he'll talk about it. But these are the kind of challenges that, at least from a jewelry perspective, we have been facing. But nevertheless, you have answer for every challenge, you have solution for every problem, so that's what we're doing.
So last question, Samit.
Yeah. So Prasad, just to ask you one thing, from a jewelry industry perspective, we are such a large industry, 350,000 crore industry, but we don't have a single brand to reckon with today. So Being Human has a huge opportunity, and it's a good cause, and you're doing what you just said, that I'm doing the bracelet, I'm being pushed into it. Maybe that is the category one should look at, because retailers across India, jewelry retailers, there are more than 6 lakh jewelers, and they're looking for a certain connect with the consumers, and this could be the answer,
Absolutely. In fact, that's why we have now going aggressive on our marketing front. We are going aggressive even in our distribution front. We have already appointed distributors across the country. We are going on a EBO, which is exclusive business outlets. We're going to have franchisee outlets coming up. And also we are going aggressive even on the number of designs. We started off with just 115 designs 2 years back. Today we have over 1,000 designs. And we are going to keep coming up. And not just that, what we are also going to do, because Dabangg 3 is going to come in, right? And which is Salman's own production. So there again, like Bajrangi, we are trying to create something unique, something different, which again becomes a success story. So we will keep doing this where the brand gets bigger, and we are able to support the good cause that Salman supports. So for the underprivileged, both for the healthcare and for the education that he does, it's huge the amount of work that he has done. I have seen it from the close quarter, so I can vouch for it, and that's where we are happy. So it sort of fulfills the CSR objective also for the companies. So even for the retailers, in fact, when we go and approach them, tell them, so it's not about just being human that it's going to sell. What it's going to do for them is going to bring more consumers, and consumers who are in the age group of 21 to 35, who are the young, because for diamond jewelry, typically your consumers are 35 plus. So for diamond jewelry, when 21 to 35 audience starts coming in, that's an incremental sale for him. And also the fact that out of curiosity, people are going to come to him. So it's not that he has to keep promoting his own products. Once the consumer is in his showroom, he can promote his own product, or he can sell.
Prasad,
being
people
human,
are yawning. We should stop.
So that's the way it is.
Sorry, people are yawning now. So we started the discussion with Jugaad, and we'll end it with Jugaad. So what Jugaad we are talking about? There is no time, but otherwise I would have asked him to elaborate. Prasad Kapre has launched a brand called Bandhan, and it is unique in many ways. And one of the ways how it is unique is they have signed a brand ambassador. Her name is Isabel Kaif. So it is, if you have to just wild connection, it is licensing a family name, okay? And knowing Prasad and his persuasive abilities, I wouldn't be surprised if Isabella Kaif has paid money to him to being promoted and getting a global platform. Okay, that is one. And I think with that, we should close. Okay. Thank you. You have been a lovely audience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and that was indeed a wonderful, unconventional licensing conversation with us. And I would now request Ms. Rutika to kindly come on board and felicitate our panelists as well as the moderator, Mr. Anil Prabhakar. A token of appreciation for our moderator, Mr. Anil Prabhakar, consultant, watches and jewelry. Token of appreciation for Ms. Sonia Punjabi, Director, Skybird Inc. A token of appreciation for Mr. Raji Pople from Director of Pople Group. Well, last but not the least, Mr. Prasad Kapre, CEO and Director of Being Human Jewelry.